Thank you everyone for attending today's webinar series, the second part in our three-part series around how BI360, a corporate performance management solution that FMT Consultants implements for our clients, can help you. The first part, and you can find this on our YouTube channel, was more of an executive overview. Today I'm excited to be co-presenting with Alex Geller, good friend and great partner for FMT. I just want to do a quick introduction about who FMT is. My name is Kevin Dupree. I'm the Senior Director of Business Development and Field Operations for FMT Consultants. So I oversee our business development team and then also oversee our Los Angeles office operations. So let's dive into the content today. I just got a few quick slides about us. So FMT Consultants were founded in 1995, so been in business for 21 years. Have about 85 consultants that are all our employees. They're W-2 employees. It's pretty important for us to have the people as our employees and not subcontractors. Not that there's anything wrong with that. It's just kind of our philosophy is we want to invest in each and every person to make sure that they're delivering service and successful projects to our clients in a kind of a consistent manner. Our client base right now is actually it's a little bit north of 300, and these are clients that we're working with on an active basis. And while the majority of our clients are here in Southern California, where FMT Consultants is based, we have offices in Carlsbad, California, which is just the northern part of San Diego, and then also on the west side of Los Angeles, we have an office and a team up there. So let me kind of talk a little bit about kind of our core values here. These are super important to every individual in our firm. This is actually one of the criteria as we're interviewing new candidates to kind of see how they measure up to these core values. But just quickly, integrity, doing what you say you're going to do, making sure that if we need to get something done, we're going to have it done on time, on budget. Service excellence, kind of the tagline there is every client satisfied, and I know that that's kind of a big, tall order, but that's certainly what we strive for each and every day with all of our clients. And then you'll see if you engage in a project with us, the collaboration effort. It's really a collaboration not only internally within FMT, but with our clients on these projects, because we're working in partnership with our clients as we're deploying these types of solutions. Innovation is dealing with what they call commercial off-the-shelf software. There's kind of different ways to implement things, and that's really kind of what you're getting from our firm is each of the consultants experience not only working with the product from a technology standpoint, but working with our business partners, our clients, and how they're solving their business needs, and also the experience of our clients or of our consultants, excuse me. Most of the people that we have on our team across all of our practices actually worked in business prior to moving into consulting, and so they understand kind of sitting in the seat of a finance manager or an FP&A person, what they're doing on a day-to-day basis, and we can certainly help them from an implementation standpoint. And then passion. We love what we do. Hopefully that comes out in today's presentation, but certainly would come out during the implementation process there. So the differentiators, we have something that we call the FMT Way. It's really kind of a combination of our people, our processes, our methodology, and the depth of experience that we have. I think the average tenure of our employees here is getting close to about 6 years with us, and so having that deep experience with the firm and with our client base is super important, and it's important for our clients too from a continuity standpoint. Solution and support service is also a key differentiator for us. After a project is finished, there's always miscellaneous ad hoc questions that come up, and our customer care team is our end user support group. They're available Monday through Friday from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Pacific time. You can kind of do the translation to other time zones if you're joining us from the Midwest or the East Coast there. And then our firm actually has a full service of offerings, not only on the ERP side, with the product here that we're talking about with BI360. Integrates with NetSuite, one of the ERP products that we do, and as well as Dynamics GP, the ERP product that we got to start with. But we do Dynamics CRM, SharePoint, a lot of business intelligence, not only with this tool here, but with Microsoft Power BI and other products out there. And then I mentioned the solution and support services team. One aspect of that is the IT infrastructure practice we have there. So we kind of pop to the next slide here. This is something that we're pretty proud of. We've gotten numerous awards, and the awards themselves are around customer service, satisfied clients, and then also that top one, the best places to work. We've been a finalist the past few years. We're pretty excited about that because our employees like coming to work. Our people like working with each other, like working with our clients, and you probably can equate this to your business. A happy employee within your company is going to produce pretty happy results with the clients themselves. Let me pop over here to the next one, just kind of a showcase of some of the clients. This is not all the clients. Obviously, I told you there's over 300 that we have today. So to put all those on a logo slide would be really hard to show you. But these are kind of a select group of clients that are using the product that we're talking about today, the BI360 tool. And we'd be happy to, as you're going through your evaluation of the solution, to put you in touch with some of the folks there so you can hear kind of firsthand from them. Lastly, I think that's the end of the slides that I have here. Just real quick housekeeping note before we turn this over to Alex. I'll be monitoring questions throughout the presentation this morning. So in the GoToWebinar control panel that you should have up on your screen there should be a section for questions. You can type questions on in, and then I'll be answering those throughout the presentation electronically, just typing answers. And then the ones that I can't answer right away, we'll defer to the end, and we'll ask Alex to go ahead and chime on in that. With that, I want to introduce Alex Geller with BI360. Great guy, really knowledgeable about the product side of things, and he's going to take us through the rest of the presentation. Alex?
Thanks, Kevin, and thank you everyone for joining today. What I want to do is go quickly through the PowerPoint, just illustrate what our company does and how all of the components would fit within your architecture. And really the purpose of today is to look at the reporting module of BI360. And on May 12th, we can dive further into the budgeting component. Let's spend a quick overview in the PowerPoint. Solver as a company, we've organically grown a little over 45% in 2015. And a large part of that growth is because we made the Gartner Magic Quadrant list, and we're really the only tool in that space that's Excel-based and that has that live integration to Dynamics GP. And we'll illustrate further in the architecture slide what exactly that entails. And we're based in Los Angeles. We're a little over, at this point, actually 1,500 customers, and with offices worldwide. And what is the Solver BI360 suite? It consists of 4 components: reporting, which we'll take a look at today, which all of the report design happens in Excel, but it's Excel with drag and drop capabilities. We also have an ad hoc reporting tool for quick on-the-fly analysis. And you can execute the reports in Excel, you can deploy via the web, or through mobile apps. And we have apps both in Google Play and in the Apple Store. And then for distribution, you can automate the push of these reports with the report publisher. As I previously mentioned, planning, not something we're going to focus on today, but just know that you can scale into that. So as your company grows and you want to add a budgeting tool, you can go through and perhaps as a phase 2 or 3, take a look at it. Now, dashboarding, we'll take a quick look at this because this pertains to reporting, seeing your data in a graphical interface on the web, and data warehousing. Now, I know you guys are anxious to see the product, so this is going to be really the last slide that I focus on before going in. And what I mean by live reporting, if you start off is, if you follow my cursor right here, it's live off of Great Plains. Now, what's the difference between us and Management Reporter? The major difference is, one, we're Excel-based, and then secondly, you can report across all of the modules that you have in GP. So perhaps you want to drill into accounts payable, receivable. You'll see that you immediately are going to have access to all of your subledger data. Now, if you do have other data sources, a lot of our customers have payroll systems, maybe they have a point of sale system, a CRM. What we can do is load that data into our data mart that's accessible for finance and accounting folks, very user-friendly interface, and then you can create reports using the exact same tool, combining all of those data sources. And then the last piece here, you can deploy via Excel, or you can deploy via thin web browser. And what we'll actually start off today with is pretending, you're done implementing BI360. How is all of this going to look to an end user's perspective? So we'll take a look at this component, then I'll go in and build a report from scratch, just so you can see the level of complexity, or hopefully lack thereof, there is associated with building a report, show you a few more reports, and then and then finish with some of our ad hoc tools. So without further ado, let's pretend you're the COO here, and you're finished with implementing BI360. What I'm going to go through and do here is I'm going to open Excel. Let me close out of the PowerPoint here. I'm going to go through, and actually before I do that, what I want to do is open up Internet Explorer. Okay? And from an end user perspective, I'm going to go in here, just through a URL, type in my credentials, and this is very important because the security that you set up in one place in BI360 is carried across all the applications. So based on my username and password, I'm only going to see specific departments and divisions that were assigned to me. We do a lot of payroll templates, so the security can get as granular as account, even journal entry is necessary. Now, looking at this, we scroll through, we see a lot of different dashboards and reports. Since it's unique to your username, you can go and toggle certain ones as favorites. And that's advantageous because instead of going through all of these various reports, you just see the ones that are most relevant for you. Also, very neat way to organize your information here. Perhaps you can keep one folder for your operational reports, another for your financial, and so on. Everything I'm showing today are just samples, and I'm going to reiterate this a few times during the demo because it's really important. Everything I'm showing you, just sample reports and dashboards, but you'll be able to create your own custom ones. And looking at this, we see a benchmarking dashboard, giving you a competitive overview of how your company is doing compared to others, executive, holistic overview of the business, maybe something for the CFO, and then getting more granular in nature. Revenue, projects, and any operational dashboard to support your financial information. Now, as I continue scrolling through, we also see that we have the formatted reports. And here you see the P&L, balance sheet, so your financial info, and then information that you can't get with Management Reporter, such as the sales report, account receivable, payable, and your subledger from GP. Now, as I continue scrolling through here, really the power of that warehouse is if you do have a payroll system that you want to report off, you can. Here's an example. We actually pulled Google Analytics into our warehouse and created analysis here. Now, let's go in and let's take a look at one of the reports. Now, perhaps you're scrolling through and you're the COO, and you want to start the day by taking a look at your P&L. So, based on this, these are all of the reports that are actually ran in the past. What you can do is expand this. And now I see the data was ran specifically for corporate US as a company. For you, it could be whatever department, division, product line, whatever's relevant. And it was ran for the month of July. Again, really simple, just to help you understand the concept. is revenue and expenses. What I can do here is actually drill into my data, and if I'm not sure why this is almost $6 million, I can right-click and drill down to summary to see the roll-up information, or detail if I want to see journal entry, vendor info, or any of that. And the question always comes up, hey, can I build my own custom one? And the answer is absolutely. And the way it looks, you click, and it goes through and fetches the underlying detail that's in GP. Now, a lot of people say, this is great, but I want to do some what-if analysis back in Excel. What you can do is share this report. This provides a QR reader that you can scan on your phone. Here's a link. And what I'm going to do is go and download it back onto Excel. So I'll say P&L, testing, click Save. You can see that the download was completed. And that's advantageous because now you can just open it up on your desktop or wherever you save it. And this is completely Excel. What do I mean by that? What I mean is maybe right before month end you go in and your product revenue is actually going to be 1.2 million. When I click enter, all of this data here changes. And that's because if I look at the formulas, all the formulas that were originally created in Excel are retained in the spreadsheet. Why? Because like I'm going to show you subsequent to the portal, this report was actually built in Excel. But now you're saying this is great, but what if I want to run it for a different company or a different month? Is this dynamic? And the answer is, yeah, absolutely. You just go back to the portal, and if you want to run a different analysis, instead of searching Excel somewhere for that report, or instead of worrying that it's updated, you just go in here and say, hey, I now want to see corporate Canada. And by the way, this is really important. This is where security kicks in. So if I'm an executive that can only see corporate Canada and corporate US, those are going to be the only two companies I'll be able to select from. In our example, I'll pick corporate US. Perhaps I want to see the next month, so I want to see August. Click refresh, and a brand new report will populate. And if I look at this, needless to say, now it gives you data for corporate Canada and for August. So as your data changes in the database, say for example you add account 40035 in GP, this report would automatically show that account. And after this portal, I'll show you how to build something like this from scratch. Now, this is great. You're seeing your numbers, formatted reports, which none of the visualization tools do. But perhaps you're saying, well, as a COO, I want to see a graphical interpretation of my data. Very logical here, looking at the revenues. Maybe I want to scroll down and view a revenue dashboard that supports my top line. The logic here is really of this specific dashboard not important. This is loosely based on our business, and you'll be able to customize it. But what is important for you to know is you can interact with all this data. So if I want to go in and say, I'm interested in corporate US, as I click, all of the data underneath here changes to support that. So again, click, you can see the data change to support. Maybe at this pie chart, what we ask here is, hey, which quarter had the most revenue? And I'm interested specifically in corporate Canada. So click, and I can see that, well, 31% of the revenue came from the fourth quarter. Also, here's another example of maybe a dashboard for the CFO. Gives you the revenue by companies, key expenses, purchases, and same logic applies. You click, and you can see the data underneath here change. And then last dashboard showcasing the power of that warehouse. Here we just took data from Yahoo Finance, pushed into our warehouse, and did an analysis that says, here's how your company is doing, industry average, and maybe two competing companies in the space. And next year, all you do, instead of rerunning it, you go in, click 2016, refresh, and it'll give you brand new information. Now, this is great, but this is from a high-level perspective. For an executive, definitely something they'd want to see. At the bottom, they have their favorites. They can view their sales reports. They can view their payables, their receivables. But you're probably saying, great, but how hard is it to actually create this stuff? And what we'll look at next is, how is a report such as an account receivable report created? And by the way, since I have this open, pretty neat. We create hyperlinks so you can open from the portal the invoice. And it goes through, and in this example, just fetch the invoice in Excel, which you can take a look at. And so having everything in one place. All right, so now let's transition a bit and say, that's good from the COO's perspective. They're getting their data, but the accountant building it, how hard is this stuff? So what I'll do is I'll open up Excel. Okay? And as I open Excel, if you're combining different data sources, you'll pick the data warehouse. If you're just reporting live from GP, you'll pick GP. Same concepts apply. Now, what you immediately notice, all the tabs that you're used to in Excel are here, and that's because we are Excel. All of the formulas and formatting that you know how to use, you can leverage, which makes the barrier to learning this much lower than with a lot of other proprietary tools. Now, if I did have an existing Excel template, I can select New Current. In our example, I'll select New Blank because I want to build out a brand new report from scratch. Now, when I go through and select GP, what you notice is our tool is really meant for finance and accounting folks. So all of the SQL table names are translated into simple business terms. So you'll see that department, department, company's company, divisions, division, and so on. Here in our example, I'm just looking down at the GP Fabricam test database. Now, immediate difference here, right, with us and MR is you'll have access across all of the modules in GP. So because I have mostly accounting and finance folks on this call, I'll go in and build out a report from the finance module. But the exact same logic applies if you're building an aging report, if you're building a event AP report, sales report, anything else. Okay? So let's see how to build it. What I'll do here, I'll build out just a really simple trial balance. And from formatting, again, I decide what I want and type it into Excel. I'll do last year date. And let's just do a variance here. And for formatting, maybe we can go in. Not going to spend too much time formatting here, just to quickly show that it is Excel, as I kept mentioning. And I'll expand the borders a bit, maybe bold this. And now you're probably saying to yourself, great, how's this different than Excel? And that's where this layout editor comes in. This is where you're going to do your data manipulation. Think of this as a pivot table, powerful, that's connected to your ERP. And what I'm going to do is open up account summary. Now, this account string has department, division, so on. But when you install this, you will automatically see your own account string segments. And I'll go drag and drop account and create a selection group on the row. And I'm doing this on the row so it expands down. Now you're saying expand, what are you talking about? Everything I'm doing right now is in design mode. Design is where your power user, the person creating these from scratch, is going to be residing. The person, an executive or someone just running them, is going to be in here running this report for different departments and so on. And the entire purpose of our tool really is you create these once and then you reuse them over and over. All right, getting back to the report design, now that I dragged and dropped it, we go into this layout editor and we select all of the accounts that we want. So this is a trial balance, I'll select all my accounts except my 9s. Select all of them, and the huge benefit here, if I go in and add account, say, if you follow my cursor as 8555 inside of GP, I will automatically see that account in the report. And that's because we use ranges. And as good practices, what happens if you had account 888 or something like that? What you probably want to do for your trial balance is say 89999. Click OK, and we're almost done with this report. Everything else should be pretty logical. You drag and drop the account description, you scroll down, drag and drop the period change for the activity, for year date, for last year date. How do you calculate the variance? Well, that's just Excel. So we can do year date minus last year date. Now, last step, we're done. How do you differentiate year date from last year date? And the way you do that with BI360 is through functions. And by the way, year date and last year date, just examples. You can do the same thing with a rolling quarter one compared to quarter one of last year, and you can create your own custom ones here too. And you drag, drop, drag, drop. That's it. I'll add some, very light formatting maybe. Add a total here. Could have used Excel, but I'll just go ahead and use the formula available to me by the software. And I'll say total. That's it. Now, what your end user is going to do, the person running these reports, oops, sorry about that. I have to just highlight this row. All they're going to do is go in, click this Run button, and pick the posting period. So say, for example, it's 2014-06, so June. Click Run. What you see, all the accounts, the descriptions, year date, last year date numbers on the row. If you go and add account 2555, all you do is click Run, and it would automatically appear here. Okay. Also, it's not Excel in the sense of this is all now protected. So if your user goes in and creates some sort of mistake here, you click a button and you run it. And by the way, so what do you do next month? Well, instead of recreating anything, you go in here, you select July, and you run it. That's it. Now, this is where a lot of accountants in the room are probably going to smile. What else can you do here? What you can actually do, similar to what I showed you on the web, you can drill down to your subledger. So right-click, and I already showed you summary, which had the roll-up info, but I can drill into, when I click detail, all my subledgers here. So here you can see the customer number, customer name, the journal entry info, the vendor, vendor name, batch number, journal entry, and anything else you might need. And again, the question that comes up is, can I customize this? Maybe I just want to bring in vendor info here. Absolutely. Now, let's add one more layer to this and say, hey, similar to what you did on the web for a company, I want to run it by different departments or divisions. Well, back in design, what your Power user is going to do is build that into the report. I'll take divisions as an example, drag and drop it, and go in and select as a parameter. This is all just formatting, different styles you can choose. I'll click Finish and click OK. And the purpose of doing that is you can now go in, and if I see this division description here, just for formatting, add it into the report. When I run this now, and say I just want to run it for service installation, great, I'll see service installation. If I want to run it for consulting training and running it, I just see consulting training. And by the way, someone asked me in a previous demo, hey, can I run it by different tabs? Yeah, you can. What you can do, pretty powerful, like once you create it, you can go back and just modify things. So say perhaps what I want is, for this to be create sheet per value, right, which I've selected. What this report's going to do, it's going to go through, and if I select, more than one divisions at runtime and run it, in this example, it's going to give you one tab for sales, another one for service installation, and another one for consulting training, because those are the divisions that I selected, all with the ability to drill down. All right, So now, you're saying, great, much better than what I'm doing, but what about some of the more complex reports? Make it look pretty. I'll go and just show you one of the sample reports that we have, and I'll open up, assignments here. Assignments is where we keep the reports. And by the way, all of these are canned reports that you can leverage. I don't want to oversell and say it's just plug and play. There's some implementation effort, but really good starting points for you guys. And one of my favorite reports is this decision pack. And in essence, what this report's going to do, now that we know the design, the person creating it, we can see that nothing's hard-coded, right? So it's going to pull in the top 10 receivables. It's going to pull in my payment info, and along with a bunch of other stuff. P&L, no numbers here yet. And that's because all of these are going to fill up with numbers based on changes in your database, and they're all going to roll into this News tab. So all your business user does, they'll go and say, run, I want to see it for corporate US. I want to see it actual. I want to see it actual compared to budget. And the budget is actually also created in BI360. Not going to focus in today, but if you are interested in adding that, then please tune in on May 12th for the webinar. And I'll add September here as the period. Click run. And you can also kind of see the performance here. It's a pretty complex report with a lot of different tabs, and it's retrieving data from the database in really less than, well, in this example, 11 seconds. Okay. Now that it's done, you see that corporate US, because that's the company we picked, sees great improvement because they did well in September. Tells you how profitable you were. Let's close out of this. Shows your top line, your customers, your products, who we owe money, and who owes us money. Dashboard, just quick charts in Excel, but the benefit is as they update, as the data updates, these will automatically update as well. Trend, and you can have any information you want here on the column. It spreads it out by 12-month rolling as of September, because that's the month we picked. Variance for your P&L, and similar to what we saw on the TV. You click, you see the accounts that roll into sales and marketing. And by the way, same thing on the column level. It also expands. So if I click this, since I ran it for September, it provides 9 months of actuals. Needless to say, if I picked up this report for October, it would give you 10 columns here. Okay. Then cash flow, a few more. It's a balance sheet, charts in Excel, and then subledger info. So here's your sales report, where you can click and see for this product here the salespeople that sold it, date they sold it, the quantity, and the actual price of it. Payments, so you can see your top vendor payments, receivables, and so on. And the benefit is similar to what you saw when I built that trial balance. If you go in next month and cash flow and resort is no longer in the 10th place, maybe there's another customer that owes us more than $70,053, you'll now see that customer in the 10th place with the click of a button. Okay. So that's sort of what else you can do with our reporting tool. I want to transition, maybe show you one more report, and then show you our ad hoc reporting tool. So close out of here, and in addition to those report libraries that we saw, we also have a lot of reports, canned reports for GP ready. And again, right, GP is really our target market, where we have the strongest foothold. So it's we've developed and worked really, really closely in that arena. Just taking a look at this report, we actually recently created this. What it does, it looks up your aging for AP and AR. So you run it, you'd see nothing's hard-coded, and if you go to the summary tab and say perhaps for AR, you want to see this guy, and then for right beneath it, and then for your account payable, you want to see, let's say this, right? It goes in, pulls data, creates a little chart. Where does it pull from? Well, from these dynamic tabs down. And you can see, the burger had the 75 for the vendor. If I want to see the actual aging, I can click it and see that information here. So I can see the due date, the document date, and any other fields I want to add. And same thing with the AR aging. And many other reports like this. Now, what I want to do is transition a little bit and say, all right, this is great as a formatted reporting tool. What else do you have? And for that, to answer that question, I'll go in and show you our ad hoc reporting tool, which is called the Report Composer. And really simple here. There are really three concepts. Let me go in here, pick out my GP test database that I'm pulling from. Just note, this is in Excel, and a lot of times users ask, okay, what's the difference between everything you just showed in this tool? And again, right, formatted reports that you rerun over and over, what I just showed, the report designer. This, quick on-the-fly analysis. You drag fields you see and want into the white space, step 1. Step 2, you filter that data. Step 3, you organize it. Since we already spent time with finance, let's go in and let's just take a look at this purchasing module, for example. And what I want to do is either drag and drop or just double click to bring vendor in here. Maybe I want to see my vendor name and scroll down, make it a little bigger for me to see. Maybe put in the document date, the batch number, voucher number, let's grab the due date, and we'll just call it that we'll just call the document amount for this. Refresh it, and we see, all the data that I have. But I don't want to see all the data. I want to see specifically for some current month, right? By the way, if I wanted to see the month in the report, hopefully you're kind of understanding it. It's just drag and drop, right? Refresh it, and you see all the data here. I don't want to see 2011, 13. I just want to see 2014, specifically the first few months. So then I filter my data. Step 2, drag and drop. You have posting periods in here. You click the lookup button, and you can go in and say you want to see 7 months of data. Click OK, refresh, and we now see this report filtered. Now, what a lot of users say, this is great, but step 3, I want to organize this information a bit. Well, what you can do is right-click. You can expand it, and now it gives you the months broken out. There just happens to be data for these 3 months in the filter you picked. And maybe I also want to organize the vendors. So you can drag and drop right in directly on top here. Maybe add some totals here. And now I have my vendors broken out by the months. And that's really it with this tool. Everything else is just an iteration of the concepts that I showed. Say for example, I want to go in and now I just want to see 2 specific vendors. Well, same concept. You go drag and drop, and maybe I just want to see a travel company advanced office system. Click refresh. I just see those 2. I get rid of the total. Oops, sorry. Maybe I can get rid of the total, and if I want to expand the vendor, I can do that. Okay. Now, last thing I wanted to show, a tool. If you're saying, great, I like everything, but I don't want the web portal, I just want to stay the Excel route, show me how I can automate the push of these reports. This is a tool called the Report Publisher, and the purpose of this is to send reports, you can convert them into PDFs to your end users. Okay. So I'll go through subscribers, who's going to be receiving the reports, and you can add new subscribers. This has a full security setting that you set up in our security layer, which is separate from GP. And we did that intentionally, so you don't need a GP license to be able to go in and access any of your reports. Maybe for testing, click OK, go back, and then set up subscriptions. So name is what's going to appear in the subject line of the email. Maybe your month-end reports. Description. These are P&L, balance sheet, and others. And then you add the reports. So you can go in and say, which reports do I want? Maybe I want this AP aging report. Maybe I want this P&L. Click OK, and then I'll go through and decide, hey, I'll always want these reports to be sent out for the current period. So I can click current here. Excuse me. I can click current. Click OK. So these reports always run for current. I can choose which vendors I want this report to occur. And then also, two last steps is, great, how do I want these reports sent out? Maybe I want them converted into a PDF and emailed out to the new subscriber we created, the testing. And additionally, I want them as an Excel merge workbook saved to a folder for, and by the way, here I can select roles, so maybe just my entire finance team. And then needless to say, last step is when is this going to push out? So do I want it daily, weekly, and I can set the date and time. Okay. So many more reports to show, but I know this is a lot of information. So what I want to do is go back into this PowerPoint and just go through everything we talked about high level. So what we saw today is we started with this piece, which is viewing your reports, being able to drill into that data, and you can create dashboards on the web. So this is from an end user's perspective. And this looks down both at GP, so live GP reports, and if you wanted maybe your sales reports, or like I showed with Google Analytics, those can also come from the warehouse, all in one place. Now, where do we create that report, right? So what you saw when we created a trial balance, we could have easily just clicked one button and pushed it up in here into the portal. So now an end user could have selected that trial balance for the different departments and periods on the web. Then we went in and built a report from scratch, a formatted report, the trial balance. Then we took a look at that narrative report, which just goes through and pulls a lot of different data sources and gives you an overview of the business. Okay. We took a look at one more just sample report live from GP. That's a subledger report. All the concepts that we covered you can do for subledger reporting. And then the last step, we just took a look at two ad hoc tools. One being that report composer, when we pulled a report live from GP. And by the way, great way to start a report, and then you can push it into this designer tool and make it a formatted report. You could have also pushed it to Excel, PDF, and so on. And then last step is, let's say we don't really want our end users logging into the portal every time. What we want is just that tool that pushes out the reports. You can go through, and we show you how to set up users and add subscriptions for them. Now, pause here for a sec. I know I showed you a lot of stuff today, a lot of new information. Maybe you don't need all of the tools, and that's completely fine. What you can do with BI360 is have a phase approach. So perhaps now I just want to replace MR with this piece. Great. Then eventually you could scale into it as your business grows. And I think that's about all I have here for the local folks in the room. We got a lot of local teams. Dodgers, Lakers, definitely some bigger customers such as Quicken Loans, and some smaller customers as well. And really the last piece here I want to leave off is the Q&A. Kevin will ask any of the questions that have appeared. And for any of you guys that are interested in seeing in budgeting, we'll have another one of these webinars May 12th at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. So Kevin, take it away.
Yeah, thanks, Alex. I appreciate it. Hopefully, everybody here has seen kind of the power of what BI360 can do from a reporting perspective. I've answered a few questions as you've been speaking. I think the only one that I have not answered, and I'm hoping that you can kind of chime in because I know that you came from the professional services team of Solver, is kind of what is a typical implementation from a timeline perspective, from the time that somebody says, yes, I want this, to the time that they're actually starting to use the software. You talked about a phased approach just a second ago, so maybe kind of incorporate that into the answer here.
Yeah, that's a great question. So, from a high-level perspective, what I showed today is actually the implementation is not significant. To load the live GP piece, there's no integration or anything else. Like with a lot of other tools, you have to build cubes, you have to migrate your data somewhere. No, ours is an Excel add-in, so you can immediately start creating reports. What we typically recommend is a 2-day on-site training for your customers, for our customers, and then a 1 or 2-day workshop. Now, on the reporting piece, you guys should be able to pick most of that up yourself. Maybe for some of the reports, if you're on a deadline, you can have FMT build. I'd say about 50% of our customers have, the partner built reports, and another 50 just get trained themselves. So on the reporting piece, again, live from GP, pretty simple. Now, once you get into loading other data sources, that I would recommend more as a phase approach, where get comfortable, get your reports from GP, but then if you say, hey, I also want now my payroll and I want my point of sale system, that we need to integrate into the warehouse. We could develop a phase approach of which data sources are important. And once that's integrated, again, you can go through and create any of your reports. And one last thing I want to add is that warehouse typically has a scary connotation of long deployments and all that. Ours is just a SQL Server-based data mart, and our typical deployment loading these data sources ranges from a few weeks to maybe 1 or 2 months.
Perfect.
But again,
oh, sorry, Alex. I didn't realize that you were not finished.
No, sorry about that. Go ahead.
I was saying that we have one last question here that just popped on in. This person is using Management Reporter currently for their financial reporting. So is there a conversion process to go from, and I'm just paraphrasing the question here, is there a conversion process to go from Management Reporter to BI360? Is there some sort of tool that migrates it? Or kind of how easy is it to kind of not necessarily electronically move, but to reconfigure reports within BI360 versus the stuff that they have in Management Reporter?
Yeah, that's a really good question, and it's really on a case-by-case basis. You would have to recreate the reports, but it's not, because we have a lot of those canned reports, and because our tool is pretty easy to use, it shouldn't be tremendous effort on their part. And they can use the skeleton of MR to start, and then continue building on that.
Okay, perfect. Well, that's all the questions that I have here. I will add in, thank everybody. I thank everybody for their time this morning. Hopefully, it's been beneficial and insightful as to what BI360 can do for you from a reporting perspective. As Alex just mentioned, we have in 2 weeks' time the final part of our 3-part series on BI360. Talking about streamlining the budgeting and forecasting process. So hopefully you'll all be able to attend that event, invite colleagues and other folks that might be more interested in those components there. But Alex, unless you have any kind of final comments, we'll say goodbye to everybody. We'll post the content up onto our YouTube channel, so it'll be available there. So if some folks from your organization weren't able to join this morning because of schedules or otherwise, we'll make sure that we get that out to everybody so that they can view it at their leisure.
No, I just wanted to thank everyone for joining today. Really appreciate your time. And as a follow-up, definitely reach out to Kevin, and we'll organize a more one-on-one follow-up demo to address your specific requirements, and you can ask questions.